All right, we are going to do, whoops, I didn't put the label up, sorry. This is Trig Unit 1, Day 4. Find approximate trig ratios using the calculator. Why do I say approximate? Because they're going to be almost always going to be decimals, which you're going to round. So they're approximate. That's why we use the trig sheet, because those are exact values. We're also, it's not on here, it kind of goes along with this, but we're going to find ratios for angles with degrees, minutes, and seconds. And you'll see what this is. So it seems really easy, and most of it is, but there's a few little tricks that you're going to want to remember or write down for some of the things that are new. All right, using the calculator to find trig ratios. To use the trig functions on the calculator, biggest thing, make sure you're in the correct mode. So on the TI 8384, you press the mode button, and you'll see right here you have the option of radian and or degree. We're going to be doing things with both, so you need to make sure for each particular problem that you're in the right mode. And we learned what radians were a few days ago, so hopefully you remember that. Values from the calculators are in decimals, which are approximate values. Trig sheet values are exact values. So calculating trig ratios in degree mode. For our three regular trig functions, there's really not much even to tell you. Make sure you're in degree mode, and then you just hit the sign button and the angle, and you should get the appropriate value back. And hopefully most of the worksheets tell you how far to round. If not, you probably want to round to at least the 100th. So these are easy. Notice you don't have a cosecant, secant, or cotangent button on your calculator. So how do we find those? Well, that's one of the things you're going to need to remember, one of the tricks. It's not really a trick. If you remember, those are called reciprocal values because they are the reciprocals. So we've been thinking of them as just flipping the ratio of sides over. For your calculator, you have to actually think of them as the reciprocal. So that means cotangent, you're going to enter as 1 over the tangent. That's the reciprocal. So for cotangent of 30, you put it in 1 over tangent of 30. Secant of 30 is going to be 1 over cosine of 30, and cosecant is going to be 1 over sine. So it does mean you have to remember which trig function it's the reciprocal of. And you can check and make sure you're doing the right thing by putting in these values and making sure you're getting the right values back. In Radian mode, again, there's not really anything new. You just have to make sure you're in Radian mode. So here I show you that it's been set to Radian mode. And put the values or the angles in radians. So sometimes it's not always the case where the angle is in pi form, but a lot of times it is. So just put for pi over 6, which is 30 degrees. And again, these are, you saw that we had, we found we used 30 degree for our example in degrees. We also are using 30 degree for our example in radians to help you make sure that you are putting these in correctly. You should get the same values back. And likewise, reciprocal function, same thing. It's just 1 over the trig function with the angle. So that's pretty straightforward. This trig function, the reciprocal values are something new, but it's not really a difficult concept. The last thing we're going to do is look at angles with more definition. And specifically degrees. Degrees have subunits called minutes and seconds. So just like minutes and seconds are fractions of hours, minutes and seconds are fractions of degrees as well. And they have the same, basically, definitions. So 1 minute is 1/60th of an hour, and 1 second is 1/60th of a minute. It's exactly the same with these degrees and minutes. So there are 60 minutes in 1 degree, just like there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So you can kind of think of degrees as hours. That means a minute is 1/60th of a degree. How do we designate a degree, an angle with minutes? You use that this little tick symbol. So 60 degrees, 12 minutes looks like this. And how much of a degree is this? If we wanted to convert this to degrees, we're going to add, and again, I've lost my bar here, 12 divided by 60, because we're going to multiply the number of minutes times 1 over 60. So 60 plus 12 over 60, which is 60.2 degrees. Why do I tell you this? Because if you're going to put it in your calculator, you need to convert it so that your calculator knows exactly how many degrees there are. All right, seconds likewise. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute, or 3,600 seconds in 1 degree. So this is 60 times 60, meaning 1/60th seconds, 1/60th of a minute, or 1/3600th of a degree. And this is pretty much what we're interested in, because we're going to want to convert everything to degrees. And in order to convert seconds to degrees, we're going to have to multiply it by 1 over 3,600. So to designate a measure with minutes, we use the double tick symbol. So here's an example. And this should have had some spaces in it, sorry. 60 degrees, 12 minutes, and 23 seconds. So what does this equal? It's 60 plus our 12 over 60 for our minutes, and plus our 23 over 3,600 for our seconds. If you put that in the calculator just like this, you get 60.20639 degrees. So you can see it allows you to get a finer granularity for degrees than you normally would. And I think these are used in like navigation and other things. You'll hear angles being given in degrees, minutes, and seconds. So let's do a few examples of conversions, or actually finding trig functions with minutes and seconds. Find the sine of 43 degrees, 16 minutes, and 25 seconds. So notice this is a degree concept. So first thing you want to do is make sure you're in degree mode. I know we were just working in Radian mode. So all of these problems you're going to be in degree mode. And then the best thing to do, you don't want to enter this and find that value, and then we don't want to be doing a lot of rounding essentially. So if you just put it into your calculator like this, sine of 43 plus 16 over 60 plus 23 over 3,600. And I show you this actually is too long to have my screen capture tool, but here it is, and this is the end of it. Enter that into your calculator and it gives you the ratio just fine. So you should find the value of cosine 69 degrees, 22 minutes, 47 seconds. You'll see in class what the answer is. And I think that pretty much wraps this up. There's really not a lot to this, just reciprocal functions and minutes and seconds. Other than that, you have a new worksheet. Bring your questions to class.